All right, so I want to come sound off on this whole Benavidez, Noel Mikaelian, Opetaia, WBC, and Zuffa situation because there's a lot to unpack. There's a lot of layers to uncover here on True School Sports, and that's what we're going to do because that's what we do over here on the Home of Boxing on YouTube. So let's talk about it because it was reported by Dan Raphael that pretty much. So actually, before we even get into the report, let's backtrack a bit. So at the first ever Zuffa Boxing show, you had Jai Opetaia, the lineal cruiserweight champion, Zuffa Boxing star signing, face off with WBC cruiserweight champion Noel Mikaelian. So it was expected that Noel Mikaelian was going to fight Jai Opetaia in the first place. Then you had Benavidez, who basically got mandated to be the mandatory for the WBC title, which is crazy because he's already the unified champion of the division with Noel Mikaelian. I think that was a response from the WBC to the fact that Noel was targeting a Jai Opetaia fight, right? So they did something they normally don't do, and again, like James Toney referred to the WBC as we be crooks, and a lot of people have their gripes with the sanctioning body, as do I, because they don't really do themselves any favors, and they still aren't doing themselves any favors in the 11th hour of this power struggle in the fight game. So then it looked like for a little bit of time that Benavidez versus Mikaelian was going to be the fight. It was reported by Dan Raphael that Samson Lukowicz, Benavidez's promoter, and the infamous Don King, the promoter of Noel Mikaelian, they had made a deal with Mikaelian for a three-belt unification fight. And that was supposed to take place in November. Now, it was reported that Mikaelian did not agree to that fight and would sign with Zuffa Boxing and fight Jai Opetaia, which has, in fact, since the report came out a couple of days ago, that has, in fact, checked out because Noel Mikaelian will, in fact, be fighting the Jai Opetaia on the Conor Ben versus Ryan Garcia card. So that does leave Benavidez in the dust as far as what he's gonna do with his next opponent. And yeah, they're gonna fight on the Ryan Garcia Conor Ben card come September 12th in Las Vegas. And Jai Opetaia gets a chance to showcase his skills in a world title fight. I mean, I guess the Zuffa Boxing belt will be on the line too. The WBC title will be on the line as well, although it's not being marketed as that on the poster. So, it'll be a chance to get him in front of more eyeballs, grow his profile, which desperately needs growing because that's why he's in this. That's one of the reasons why he's in this position in the first place. And hopefully, in due time, we can get the Benavidez fight. But Opetaia has decided that he's not going to mince his words. He's taken aim at Benavidez, and he stated the following, and I quote: "This is a huge card, and I look forward to showing the world once again why I'm the best cruiserweight on the planet. Credit to Noel Mikaelian for stepping up to the plate, while others, yes, Benavidez, I'm talking about you, continue to run and hide." End quote. That's Jai Opetaia taking aim at Benavidez. Now, before I even get into that quote, it is also worth noting because Don King and Samson Lukowicz, because they had an agreement, there is a very big chance that there are going to be lawsuits. There are going to be some court filings. There are going to be some things that have to be overcome outside the ring. So we'll see how that goes, and we'll definitely keep tabs on that here on True School Sports. But yeah, so we arrive initially back at the point that we started at, and once again, man, like Zuffa Boxing, we're in the 11th hour of the old guard in boxing, and the old guard of boxing is not doing themselves any favors. There was a Benavidez was made the mandatory despite being a unified champion, which never happens, right? Normally, you're not even ranked if you're champion, right? But they did it anyway. They clearly have a vested interest in Benavidez being champion due to the fact that, number one, Benavidez is one of the biggest stars in boxing. And so his 3% of a sanctioning fee is higher than a sanctioning fee from somebody else, which also gives people more ammunition to shit on the old guard and the sanctioning bodies and things like that. So, we'll see what happens, man. Let me pull these rankings up. We'll see what happens because, as far as I'm concerned, there has been no talk or agreements about Bivol and Better BF fighting. So listen, if either one of those guys is free, which I think they are, I think that's the route Benavidez should go. We need those fights. We want to see Benavidez in a fight that's worth our while. With all due respect to Zotto, we kind of knew what that was going in, and we want to see Benavidez continue to fight. Top competition, and like no matter what anybody wants to say, and listen, Jai went to Zuffa with WBC having such a vested interest in Dave Benavidez, and with Zuffa having such a vested interest in Jai Opetaia. I don't care what none of you guys say. There is not going to be a smooth pathway to make this fight happen because both these guys, forget the fighters, forget your opinion for Benavidez, forget your opinion for Jai Opetaia. Both these fighters represent something far greater than that, okay? And they both represent the power struggle of the two different sides of boxing right now. Benavidez represents the power of the WBC, PBC, the old guard of boxing. That's on one side. Zuffa Boxing and Jai Opetaia, he represents Zuffa Boxing and Dana White and Ari Emanuel, Nick Khan, and the new ecosystem of boxing, which they're trying to create because make no bones about it. Let there be no qualms. Zuffa Boxing is not trying to be a promoter. They're trying to be the promoter, the only promoter. And so that's what Jai represents. And because of these things, there is going to be this tug of war. I don't care what you guys say about Garcia and Ben fighting on a ring card. They don't represent just these different types of boxing the way these two particular fighters do. So that's why you have that power struggle from my perspective. But yeah, I mean, it sucks because I do want to see Opetaia versus David. But I just don't see how there's going to be a smooth pathway to make this fight. Hopefully, at some point, bygones can go ahead and be bygones and the fight can happen because I want to see the fight because I like Jai Opetaia, but Jai Opetaia fans are starting to really piss me off because Jai Opetaia, y'all wasn't caring about Jai Opetaia 8 months ago back in December. Y'all only started caring when he became a guy that could potentially fight Dave Benavidez, and you guys don't hate Benavidez necessarily. You hate what he represents, the WBC, PBC, the old guard of boxing, and the pro Zuffa crowd want him to lose for those reasons, right? You understand? So Benavidez isn't fighting Opetaia. I mean, if you go down and look at the rankings of the belts that he holds, particularly the WBC, I mean, you got Benavidez was number one. Funny enough, he was. It was in reverse 6 years ago. Benavidez was WBC champion, and Benavidez is number one. Now Benavidez is the WBC champion. Benavidez is his number one. So I mean, I would love that fight. I think that's a fight that he should target because Benavidez is older now and he's still dangerous, of course, but it would be a fight that would further prove what Benavidez is and what I believe he is and what many people with honesty and clear eyes see that he is, and that is one of the baddest fighters in the world today. And I've always thought that Benavidez, even despite his age, is one of, if not the most dangerous test out there for Dave Benavidez. So you got that fight. You got Ben Whitaker. He's number two. That's a big fight. I don't know if Eddie Hearn wants to rush him into a Benavidez fight like that. And then you go down the list. You got guys like Buatsi, who I think Benavidez would destroy if they fought. And yeah, so I'll leave it at that, man. That's my interpretation of the matter. It's crazy that all these years later, despite Don King barely doing shows, he's still relevant at the world championship level of boxing. So, yeah, I think there's gonna be a lawsuit at some point. You don't make a deal with Don King and then get over on Don King and think that it's just gonna be all fine and willy-nilly. He's gonna sue. This could affect the careers of both fighters. I'm sure Zuffa Boxing and Ari Emanuel, and Nick Khan, they've had plenty of lawsuits in the past, big lawsuits too, antitrust lawsuits. So they're no stranger to the courtroom. They're no stranger to controversy. They're no stranger to things like these. So we'll see how it all goes. But Opetaia versus Mikaelian, it's in my opinion, it's the same thing that Benavidez Mikaelian was. Mikaelian's gonna get the brakes beaten off of him. Mikaelian hasn't been anywhere close to his best for about relatively, I'm gonna say like 7 years, because people do forget that Mikaelian did give Benavidez hell in the first round of the original World Boxing Super Series, and a lot of people thought he beat Benavidez, which is funny because Opetaia's best opponent is Benavidez, right? And now he's finding a guy that arguably beat Benavidez. So I mean, make that what you will. But those are my thoughts. I'd love to hear you guys down below. Leave your comments down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.